Welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. I love talking to interesting people doing interesting things, and that's exactly what Jim Rowe is. Jim is an author and a marketing veteran of 45 years who started in market research after receiving a bachelor's in marketing from Fairfield University in Connecticut. He's worked with many, many, many organizations and has written books, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about here today. So Jim Rowe, welcome to Get Down to Business.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is a pleasure to have you. So, as I like to do with all of our guests, I like to get to know the person behind the microphone and behind the books of Get Your Ducks in a Row. Let's talk about it. Rowe, by the way, being Rowe, exactly as your name. Jim, how did you get into all this line of work?
Well, as you mentioned, I was in the marketing business. And one of the things about marketing is that it is, and I love marketing, it is really a disciplined approach to problem solving, and you have to do that by thinking smart and being strategical and planning and being able to communicate well. And I noticed two other guys started a business back in 1990, an agency, and by around the mid 2000s, I noticed that some of the newer grads that we were hiring, while we vetted well, they had good GPAs, they had good internships. I was struggling with some of their critical thinking and problem solving, and particularly writing skills. So I started thinking about the book, and then of course got busy. But when I retired in 2016, I started picking it up again. And the difference between then and now is that there is a lot of research, and not as much, and it's still below the radar. But I found 3 studies, and so the basic problem is that between 50 and 75% of the managers out there are rating recent grads' ability to critically think, problem solve, and communicate, particularly in writing. They're not being viewed as proficient. Yet 80% of the students view themselves as proficient. So you've got this enormous skills gap, and that's a pretty big problem. And it seems to be that the reason for it, and so hence my books. But it seems to be, you could say, oh, it's the colleges, all that stuff. It really, the educational system at the, at the core, there's a lot of wonderful things that are being done. I'm not criticizing them, but it seems that, in 2011, there was a report by the National Report Card, and they cover several areas. And I looked into writing. And I've always been a big believer that to write is to think. And it seems that in 8th, 12th grade, 73% of the students are not rated as being proficient at it. You get into freshmen, 60, and then by seniors, you still have 40% not being viewed as proficient at it. So I just don't think we're teaching it. And frankly, because if I think the computers and everything else in tech, there's not a lot of practice in writing. We're doing things very quickly. So I felt that there was an obvious open need for this. And the impact on business is pretty bad as well. You've got $400 billion being attributed to losses for corporations due to poor communication. And that's the money side of things. The other problem is that you've got all the people impact. The stress goes up, the morale goes down, people make mistakes, reputations are ruined. So, and then companies have to spend billions, $3 billion on training folks. So I saw there was an opportunity to help people. I tell people I want to teach them how to rap. And they all look at me, and I mean that as, I want you to be respected, to be admired, and to be promoted. And to do that, you need to know these 2 soft skills of being able to think critically and to be able to communicate, particularly in writing.
Absolutely. I'm chatting with Jim Rowe, a marketing veteran of 45 years and the author of a series of books called Get Your Ducks in a Row. And there's a little pun intended over there, ROWE over there. Book 1, Business Writing and Communication, teaching the 10-step formula to think, write, present, and sell more effectively, because we are all selling regardless of your line of work. And book 2, Learn the Adapter Method of Strategic Business Communication. And Jim, I couldn't agree with you more in terms of the need that exists, but I want to touch on what you just mentioned, the skills gap. And you're talking, we're talking about something about this topic now in 2022,
yeah.
when certainly things continue to evolve, as you said, communication changes. But are you seeing the skills gap getting even wider now?
Well, there aren't that many studies out there, but I have been surprised. I think yes is the answer. The studies that and these are big studies. PayScale had 60,000 managers. Insider Higher Ed, the American Association of Colleges and Universities, and so I think PayScale was 2016. The other two have been since then. These are big problems, and if you speak to somebody anecdotally, people that are in manager positions, they'll go, yeah, it's really bad. But there isn't not, it's really kind of below the radar. So I do think it's getting worse because we're moving so quickly. And what I'm experiencing and what managers are telling me is that people are getting out of school and they're thinking they can just, they email quickly, they tweet, they text. There isn't that step back. You need to think about it, and not a recognition of how important the communication is. So those are managers have pushed the colleges to provide all of these hard skills. But they are now saying that they'll take the ability to think critically and communicate well, these two soft skills, as the most important things. They take that over some of the hard skills.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, in everything that I've done, it really is, like I said, everything is about selling, everything is about communicating. And I have to plug again the books, Get Your Ducks in a Row. And I know that $1 of every book is going to the National Writing Project. So you're trying to fix this issue, not just with the skills, but also in putting money where your mouth is as well. But speaking of skills, we've got to squeeze in a very quick break. But when we come back, we're going to get into some of those particular skills. Give everybody maybe a little bit of homework, something that they can do to get better. Everybody can do it, regardless of whether you're a recent college grad, or you've been in the industry for 45 years, like our guest Jim Rowe. So again, you're listening to the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Don't forget to download our podcast on your favorite podcast app. Just search for Get Down to Business. Again, don't touch that dial. Welcome back. I've been chatting with Jim Rowe, who has written some fantastic books on issues that I'm certainly very, very passionate about, and that's Get Your Ducks in a Row. We're talking about business communication. We're talking about problem-solving communication skills, something that he's been sharing some fascinating statistics in terms of the skills gap that exists. And I should say that, again, $1 from every book is going to the National Writing Project. So, Jim, thank you for that. I know you're a marketing veteran and author, and you have a lot of tips to share. So, Jim, can you share a sort of the homework assignment, something that everybody should know as they move into the weeks and months ahead of 2022 of how they get better at their communication?
Well, I think the place to start, frankly, is book one. And when I say that it is really all about and I was inspired by the fable Who Moved My Cheese. So this is a book about ducks in business. This is a fable. And I took a very basic marketing document, which is a marketing brief or creative brief, and is 10 steps to it. And I could have made it a tweet. I could have made it a blog, but I decided to make it a book so that I could, provide some color around each one. And the steps are, when you're starting a presentation, you need to talk about who your audience is and what is the purpose. What are you trying to achieve? And so that's step one. The next is, let's provide some background. What does this person, the audience, know? So you need to be thinking about who you're speaking to. After the background, you go into, okay, what are some of the problems that are facing? Now, it could be business or it could be an organization. What are some of the issues? From there, you say, okay, these are the things we want to accomplish. Put a metric to it. So the objectives, what are the objectives that we want to fix? And now the important one and the hardest is the strategy. From a strategic standpoint, what do you suggest is going to be done that will fix these problems to achieve your objectives? The point after that is the rationale. Why should I believe that this is going to work and provide you all this money, Mr. Marketing Person or whoever you are as an executive? And then it goes on from there with the tactics, the cost and ROI, the timing. And what I find is that I've been teaching this to young people for years. These 10 steps are very important, and it'll help you structure your thinking. It'll help you think on your feet. You'll be able to, solve problems and be able to communicate them quickly and clearly. So from a point standpoint, get those ducks in a row and go through those 10 steps.
I love it. And I love the title again, Get Your Ducks in a Row. They're fascinating reads. Book one on business running and communication. And number two, learn the adapter method of strategic business communication. So whether you are in your job search, whether you own your own business, there's something there for you. So Jim, know that all of our listeners are nodding their heads vigorously and certainly want to get a copy of the book and get in touch with you, my friend. So Jim Rowe, how can we contact you?
Well, the easiest way is to go to my website. It's it's jimrowemarketing.com. So JIMROWE marketing.com. The site is split into two sides, which is the agency that I work on. I have one client, that's all I want at the moment, and it's doing fine. And then I have the other side, which is the all about the books, and you'll be able to find it. And if you go to the contact page, you'll be able to either get in touch with me or be able to order the books through Amazon one at a time, or I've got discounts for bulk sales, because communication is the oil that lubricates a business. And no matter who you are, whether you're a grad, you need to be good at it. And that is one of the most important things you can do. So we'd love to hear from you.
Well, I'm very excited to stay in touch and hopefully share more advice and expertise with our listeners. Thank you for sharing your expertise for sure. So again, Jim Rowe, thanks so much for joining us. And be sure to check out our sponsors, Tom Mirabali from healthplanchicago.com, healthplanchicago.com for all of your health insurance, Affordable Care Act needs. And be sure to get on my website, shalomklein.com. That's where you can download the past 8+ years of shows all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship, and get on your favorite podcast app. Click subscribe, rate, review, and share. It makes it so much easier for people to find out about the many hundreds of amazing entrepreneurs and guests like our friend Jim Rowe over here who have joined us on Get Down to Business. So to success, let's get down to business. We'll talk to you next Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on AM 560 The Answer. Have a great week ahead.